I stare out the small oval window of the airplane and the glittering skyline of Dubai, which has been my home for the past 13 years, slowly fades into the distance. I feel a deep sense of loss building up inside me as the plane continues its ascent, and the iconic Burj Khalifa is now just a tiny prong amidst a field of twinkling lights. I never imagined I would be leaving Dubai like this alone, heartbroken with my dreams of reuniting with Mona and our children shattered. Even yesterday, as I hugged my children goodbye, I was filled with optimistic anticipation that I would complete my life here and finally come home for good. Now, instead of planning a joyous reunion, I am coming to grips with the shocking revelation of Mona's ultimate betrayal. As the plane gains altitude, tears begin to slowly roll down my cheeks. I still can't believe that my faithful, loving wife, my college sweetheart, was capable of secretly cheating on me. And it wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a long-term, multi-year affair that involved my own mother. The two women I loved and trusted more than anything else in the world have hurt me deeper than I could ever have imagined. I think back to today, when I suddenly noticed Mona entering the hardware store, following the beacon I had installed on her car. The passionate kiss she exchanged with its owner confirmed my worst fears. All my desperate efforts over more than a decade to provide her and our children with a good life, working day and night to build my business, in the end, they meant nothing to her. I was just an ATM to fund her illicit lifestyle. As the lights of Dubai faded, so did the life I had once known. The loving family I still envisioned in my imagination turned out to be just an illusion. Today I leave not only the city, but also the last shards of my naive innocence and optimism. From the ashes, I will have to start over. My hands shake uncontrollably as I stand in front of the faded green door of the hardware store, its windows covered by metal shutters. The little red dot on my phone's map teasingly stares back at me. It's where Mona's car is parked at this very moment. After weeks of agonizing suspicion, I've finally faced my worst fears. As much as the truth frightened me, the not knowing had become unbearable. The final straw was yesterday, when I caught Mona off guard by flying home unexpectedly from Dubai. As soon as she saw me, I noticed a flash of panic in her eyes, which she quickly hid behind a practiced smile and an enthusiastic hug. All my insides scream that something sinister lurks beneath the surface. I take a deep breath and rap my knuckles sharply on the metal frame of the door. The wait is interminable, each second a torture for my frayed nerves. Just as I raise my fist to knock again, the door suddenly swings inward. Standing in front of me is a tall, muscular man with a large shield on his face, dressed in oil-stained jeans and work boots. Creases of confusion appear on his handsome but weathered face as he looks me over from head to toe. Before he can speak, I roughly push past him, and the adrenaline rushing through my veins removes all inhibitions. Hey, what the hell do you think you're doing?" he yells angrily behind me. I ignore him, my pulse pounding in my ears, and I rush toward the warehouse where I know from months of covert research that the store's supplies are kept. A man grabs my shoulder roughly, but I shove him away and continue on my way. As I round the corner of the dingy gray room, my eyes frantically search around until they rest on a bare mattress leaning against the far wall, and there she is. My beloved wife of more than 2 decades lies completely naked, her body arching in the throes of ecstasy. Shock and anguish in equal measure overwhelm me as this ultimate betrayal is committed before my eyes. "Oh my God, Frank," cries Mona suddenly, grabbing the crumpled sheet to cover herself with and meeting my angry gaze. Before I can react, a man named Frank grabs me forcefully from behind and drags me by the collar back into the pantry doorway. "Let me go, you bastard," I yell, and the pain in my heart quickly turns to rage. I smash my elbow into my assailant's chest with force and hear a satisfied grunt as he loosens his grip. In one fluid motion, I break free of his grip and deliver a swift punch to his jaw, sending him stumbling backward. Blind rage rushes through my veins, urging me to use more violence on this homewrecker. But before I can act, a shrill female voice breaks through the chaos. "Stop it. Both of you." Mona stands in the doorway, wrapped in a sheet, mascara dripping down her flushed cheeks. "Frank, are you okay?" she asks, trying to help the man to his feet. At the sight of her concern for her lover, an inferno erupts in me. "How could you do this, Mona? To our family? To me?" I shout. "I've worked myself to the bone in Dubai to give you everything." She meets my wild gaze, and her face falls apart. I know. I never meant for this to happen. You have to give me a chance to explain." She sobs, but her excuses mean nothing to me now. The Mona I loved is gone, long gone. This desperate shell of a woman has become a stranger to me. With a final cry of anguish, I push past her trembling figure and run out into the night, slamming the door behind me with force. My perfect life disintegrated before my eyes. I roamed the living room like a caged lion, stamping a rut into the beige carpet. Mona sits curled up on the couch, mascara dripping down her cheeks. My mom sits anxiously on the edge of the ottoman, kneading her fragile hands. Running out of the hardware store last night, I confronted both women and demanded the whole truth. Mona broke down and through sobs admitted her transgressions. Yes, she had cheated on me for almost 10 years. Yes, my own mother had known about her adventures the entire time and had not only kept silent, but supported Mona's disgusting behavior. I still can't fathom that the two women I loved most in the world betrayed me. The life I had worked so hard for in Dubai turned out to be nothing but a carefully constructed fiction. "How? How could you?" I whispered, my voice shaking with excitement. I stopped my frantic pacing and stood looking at the squirming Mona. Despite the anger burning in me, the sight of her so small and pathetic awakens a pity in me that I quickly drown out. This woman is a stranger to me now. Mona raises her bloodshot green eyes and looks at me. "It all started innocently enough," she whispers. "When you got a job in Dubai, I was so lonely. Your mom tried her best, but—" Her words are silenced as her body shakes with a new sob. I narrow my eyes, feeling the rage in me flare up again. She dares to justify her behavior by citing loneliness? When have I ever been the one toiling in a foreign land, working brutally long hours among strangers with alien customs? I turn my furious gaze sharply to my mother. "And you," I spit out bitterly, "you knew what she was doing. And you comforted her anyway, covered for her." Mom pleadingly holds out a trembling hand. "Son, please try to understand the old woman's situation." Mona was so unhappy. I pull back as if burned. Understand? Understand how my own mother betrayed me. Her only son? Tears come to my eyes. At that moment, something inside me snaps. These women I sacrificed everything for are brazenly stabbing me in the back. I run to the front door and swing it open with force. "I want you to leave. Both of you. Get out, NOW. I yell. Mona jumps up and tries to claw at my arm, but I shake her off roughly. "Please, I'm so sorry. I still love you." She sobs desperately. My mother approaches us with pleading, rheumatic eyes. Their excuses and apologies mean nothing to me now. These toxic women have wounded me to the core with their lies and infidelity. With a final cry of anguish, I push past their pathetic figures to flee alone into the night. The door slams shut behind me with nauseating finality. I recline on the luxurious king bed in my suite at the Burj Al Arab Hotel, staring blankly through the floor-to-ceiling windows at the dazzling Dubai skyline spread out before me. The iconic silhouette of the Burj Khalifa pierces the black night sky, its peak glittering hypnotically. I secluded myself in the privacy and splendor of this, the most luxurious hotel in the city I had called home for over a decade. Here I was, cocooned high above the bustling metropolis, and the chaotic events of the past weeks seemed strangely distant, like a half-forgotten dream. My thoughts inevitably returned to that fateful night when I confronted Mona and my mother, demanding the truth about Mona's years of betrayal. Her tearful confession cracked the foundation of my reality. My mother's complicity finally shattered it. After that, I ran through the wreckage of my former life without direction or purpose, driven only by the acute agony of their betrayal. When I finally stopped, I found myself parked outside my luxurious Dubai home. Although I had given up this luxurious abode just a few weeks earlier in anticipation of returning to America for good, in my trauma, it subconsciously represented a refuge, a place to hide and soothe my battered psyche. In the days that followed, I plunged headlong into work, allowing myself to become absorbed in the minutiae of the business. It was a feeble attempt to dull the suffering to pretend that my personal world hadn't crumbled. But at night, in the sterile solitude of my apartment, my demons returned to torment me. Eventually, the pain became too much to bear alone. The memories of what I had lost or thought I had lost threatened to crush me completely. And so I settled into this extravagant hotel, this temple of wealth and success. Here, within these luxurious walls that remind me so much of my former life in Dubai, I can almost fool myself into believing that the past month was just a nightmare, that soon I will wake up and return to the comfort of my loving family. But reality inevitably crumbles. I realize there's no escaping the revelations about Mona and my mom. As I lie awake until the early hours of the morning, the family portrait I keep as wallpaper on my phone taunts me those smiling faces in happier times are now just a cruel lie. With a furious scream, I hurl the device across the room. It hits the wall with a crash and falls to the marble floor, and the screen shatters into glass spiderwebs. I drop my head onto my hands, guttural sobs shaking my body until the tears stop flowing. I am completely devastated, completely devoid of feeling. An empty vessel is the shell of a man. Having severed ties with the toxic women who betrayed me so deeply, I have lost touch with anything meaningful in this world. The Dubai dawn peeks uncertainly through my windows, illuminating the wreckage of my broken phone. As I watch the growing light begin to sparkle against the jeweled skyscrapers glittering in the background, something changes inside me. The dark emotions that have been festering inside me for the past weeks have exhausted themselves. Following them came a strange sense of peace. I've hit rock bottom, but to my surprise, I don't feel defeated. Bitter experiences have shattered my naivety and trust in those around me, but from the rubble, I will build anew. Here, hovering above the bustling city I once called home, limitless possibilities open up before me. I will start anew,